victory lane, always a thrill in NASCAR, but if you could do it here at the Daytona International Speedway, you will be remembered. Final practice coming up for the NASCAR Xfinity Series drivers and teams. They've already had one practice earlier today, and a full day of activities continue here at the World Center of Racing. There are the top 10 speeds and some surprises in there. Names that you wouldn't normally see, but they talked about it in the last practice. Those final laps, you may see anybody possibly going to victory in Daytona. Good afternoon again, everyone. Dave Burns along with Dale Jarrett, who has been to victory lane here at Daytona. And so those top 10 speeds, we looked at them, some names, Timmy Hill, Joey Gase, they've still got a shot. What will they be working at, or what did we see in the first practice out of them trying to figure out the draft?
Yeah, I think the draft is the key. That's what you wanted to get out of the way, make sure that you understood exactly what your car would do. And that's where these top speed comes from. We don't know what they may run in qualifying because really nobody did that. And that's tomorrow afternoon. They have to worry about that. So drivers wanted to get their cars. They got in 2 and 3 wide situations, they were under control. But always fun to see these other names up there. And, you know, not only is that good for us to see those names up there, that's a huge confidence boost, too. Hey, I have a car that's fast enough to be up here in the mix.
Welcome back to Daytona. Intermittent clouds and sunshine, a lot of humidity, a little bit of heat. Cars on track for final practice, just a few. Marty Snyder patrolling the garage area down there. Dave Burns, Dale Jarrett up here in the booth, and down on the Peacock pit box, Steve Letarte with now guests, I believe.
Yeah, oh yeah, I finally found some friends. I have some friends down here now, Dave. Daniel came and joined me. I appreciate you coming down. They had me down here all by myself, so I'm glad that finally a driver came down. So far, so good. How's practice going?
Yeah, man, practice was good. Obviously, I'm not on the racetrack right now, which means I was pretty happy with it. You know, this place, the way every time we go to super speedway racing, it seems like that first pack right at the beginning of practice one is the biggest pack you can get in to try to simulate as best as you can, you know, right there, you know what your car's going to, how it's going to buffer around, how aggressive you can be side drafting, and how your car is receptive to side drafting. So we simulated that as best we could the first practice, and I was happy with where our South Point Hotel Casino Chevrolet was. And hopefully it's good enough tomorrow night when the lights come on and we go racing.
Well, so DJ and I have been telling the fans that how difficult practice can be. So when you enter the track as a driver with only 10 or 15 cars, not the normal 40, what do you have to do? What's the risk versus reward? What kind of risks are you willing to take in practice?
You know, for me, I think every time I come here, I find myself being a little bit more aggressive every practice, and that's any super speedway. When you come here the first couple of times, you're kind of the guy who's just there. You see the veterans, a guy like Elliott Sadler, you know, obviously Blaney's in the field, and those guys, the Cup guys come down, and they're either on the racetrack right before us or they've been here so many more times that they're really aggressive. So I find every time I come here, I try to put myself in those real-life positions. You don't want to tear a race car up either. But on the other side of that, the only way you're going to know how to maneuver in the race is put yourself in that spot. And, I think I've done a better job of that over the last couple, and the finishes haven't shown it, but we've led more laps. We're putting ourselves in position. I just got to figure out how to get to the end.
Hey, Daniel, Dale Jarrett, you talk about those finishes at these places, and it's so difficult because it takes a whole different mindset and a whole different set of skills to do this. As a short track racer, someone that has won tons of races there, coming here now to places like Daytona and Talladega, what is your mindset when you crank the car up tomorrow night and get ready to go? What are you thinking about? I know you want to accomplish getting the best finish that you can, but how are you going to go about that?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what I was saying a minute ago. I think the first couple of times I came here, I was just in the pack, in the group, wherever the lines moved, and I was just the guy that kind of was a buffer between whichever way the momentum was going, and I still found myself crash before the end of the race. Now, at least, I try to get myself to the front, be aggressive. You see the guys that, you know, everybody comes here and says, oh, it's luck. You got to put yourself, you know, it's all luck, it's all luck. Well, that's not the case, because I find that the guys that usually are winning on Sundays or whatever these super speedway races is always the same guys. So they figure out a way to get to the end. That's usually because they're up front and they're being aggressive. So my mindset coming to these places now is to try to be one of those guys and try to get better and critique. And you learn little things here and there every time about what you can and can't do. But knowing how the energy is going to form and shift, you do that in practice, and that's the mindset when you go into the race.
Well, I found the other RCR driver, Shane Lee. Jimmy, Shane, listen, I'm glad everyone's coming to hang out with me now. This is a popular place. But Shane, I know a lot of people probably don't know your story, so explain to the world how you ended up in this RCR car here at Daytona.
You know, it started a little bit last year with my marketing guy, Jason White. Really, he actually played on the basketball deal with Denny and Austin and all them, and they in the ARCA deal, we ran Kansas last year, and Mike Dillon and Austin actually stayed after the race and stayed on the hauler during the race and everything. And just started talking to them a lot since then, and ever since then we've been pretty good friends, play golf with all of them. They really try to take me under their wing.
So we know you have experience at Hickory, experience at ARCA, but here you are, Daytona Xfinity Series, one practice under your belt. We heard Daniel and how he prepared. How about a young man like yourself kind of getting your feet wet at the Xfinity level? What was practice like?
Yeah, we had a little bit of a teamwork deal with the 11 car to go out at the back of the pack and just more or less see if we could get back to them, catch up to them, to see how we would draft up. And once we caught the big pack, it pretty much minimized the risk of wrecking. And as soon as we caught them, we just backed out of it and more or less just worked on green flag pit stops from here on out.
Yeah, well, that could be difficult. So, DJ, from what I hear, this young man here runs in your old stomping ground up there at Hickory some.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great drivers that have come from Hickory Motor Speedway, and I'll go all the way back to Dale Earnhardt coming there for his first time on pavement. Shane, coming to Daytona, I can remember it's a long, long time ago that I came here for the very first time, and I'd come here as a kid and watched my dad race, but the first time on the racetrack, it was like that this place was bigger than life. How about your experience here?
The first time I came here, I think 3 years ago now in the first ARCA race, it was definitely a lot bigger than I thought, and honestly that race didn't go so well. I think we made half a lap before we wadded up like the whole field. So hopefully we can make more laps than that and put ourselves in a good chance to have a chance at winning this race.
Shane, you mentioned the basketball that sort of got you involved with the Dillon brothers early on, and talking to Nick Harrison yesterday, he said the fact that they really like you, they share a lot of information with you. How much has that helped your quick development here?
It's helped a lot. Every one of them has, like, especially Ty, he's probably helped me more than anybody. The first 2 or 3 races, he'd sit right there at the car on the radio for both practice sessions and just talk to me. And any question I had, he would listen to me and answer, as well as Mike and Austin, too. Then Nick Harrison, the crew chief, he really takes me under the wing. He gives me a little bit of a hard time, but other than that, we've been all get along really good.
Well, if they give you a hard time, that usually means they like you. So listen, we heard 25 yesterday.
Yep.
For birthday weekend, might as well go out. Good qualifying, good in the race. Good luck tomorrow night.
Thank you. I hope so.
Oh, Daytona is quiet right now. Josh Balicki, I believe, may have dropped a motor, as in blew up on the track. But for now, the track is quiet. Up on top of the World Center of Racing, spotters. Very important here, and that is the work of TJ Majors. Because if you don't gel, if you don't just like each other and get along, I mean, that's not going to work, right?
Yeah, they have to get along. Sometimes being friends can almost be a little difficult. There's been a couple races where I had to sit the two of them down and explain that I know they're friends, but they also have to be professional, and they always seem to be after that. But winning the Daytona 500 with TJ, he talks about painting a picture, and that's how it is. Sitting down here on the pit box reminds me of that. When I'm down here, I could close my eyes and listen to TJ spot, and I could picture our car entirely around the racetrack, whether we're leading, being passed, or getting ready to pass somebody. It truly is an art form.
On track, the final minutes of the Xfinity Series final practice. You see Timmy Hill and Chad Fincham on track doing a little, I'll call it two-car drafting. They're not allowed to lock on, DJ. They're allowed to get close and bump, but you can't lock on, or NASCAR says they will penalize you.
No, but yeah, and this is a situation that you hope you don't find yourself in this situation unless you're out front on the last lap of the race, that it comes down to 2 people. But there are things that you can find out. Is my car better in front of another car? How close will my car pull up to the rear bumper of this car that I'm with? And in this situation, very, very difficult, because most of the time to really pull up, you need another car on your bumper. But things are, anytime you're on the track and can figure out things speed-wise or what your car does differently in front and behind, is always beneficial.
By the way, congratulations to Timmy Hill and his wife, Lucy. They finally got away for their honeymoon after being married in the off-season. On the off week a couple weeks ago, went to Antigua. Great place to experience some water and some fun. Speaking of water and fun, it's all over Daytona Beach. Yeah, look at that. Might not be Antigua, but it is Daytona.
Not just your own track stuff. Yeah, that's the only other way to learn in this business, is to have a good voice that you believe in and that can help you. And he was talking about the physical side of it, getting yourself in the best shape. But that's one thing you can do as a driver. Not only getting better on the racetrack, but as you get in the race car and go through difficult times like last weekend where it was so hot, and it's going to be hot again this weekend.
I tell you, I ran into Blake Cook in the grocery store, and he said, I can help you with that eating program too. I said, let me get back to you, because he told me what he wanted me to have, and Matt looks great. Yeah, I don't know if I could handle all that healthy stuff. Steve, how about you?
You know, Dave, you have to turn your mic on for it to work. I did learn that right there. But listen, I couldn't do the healthy eating either. But I want to thank Daniel Hemrick for coming down, Shane Lee, Tyler Reddick, those drivers to take some time to come and join me on the pit box. Was a lot of fun. We've seen all the Xfinity practice we're going to see. But up next is a little bit of Cup practice, and I expect that to be a little busier than Xfinity practices. I think there's still a few more cars in the garage that want to make some laps.
We shall see. They're getting ready to get lined up down in pit lane. Dale, final practice at Daytona, important.
Important. Got to learn all that you possibly can. Last chance to really make any changes to your race car. Be ready for that big race.
If you don't have a car, you might have a pool. Hang on. Final practice from Daytona coming up. Rick and Jeff, Dale Jr., they'll be here bringing you all the action from up above. Thanks for joining us for Xfinity Series Final Practice. We'll see you next time.